roads you have to go down to complete an investigation. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's often said in our field, especially as people get later and later in their career, that we should be writing books with the stories and the cases we see, because we can't make this up. You have this case where, Williams is charged with animal abuse and an intimidation of a witness later, in a horrible case.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the things that are done to animals are inexcusable in any fashion. And here you have a case that, our law enforcement gets a tip, they investigate, they find out what goes on, they charge this case. We're going to be very aggressively prosecuting it. But yeah, you work the case where it takes you. You follow the evidence. We go into a case with no preconceived notions of what the case is or what it means or what the evidence is going to say. We have to follow the evidence and then go with where the evidence takes us. That's what the job is.
Yeah. And that's a really unfortunate situation, but as the layers keep peeling off and they unveil new things that you have to cover and investigate, you can see how difficult that becomes. And then you have to button it all up and take it before a court and make sure that everything is properly done in order to not let somebody slip away.
Sure. I mean, we want to hold these people accountable for what they do. And that begins at the very initiation of the investigation, making sure that we're collecting that evidence appropriately. We have the proper chain of custody, so we know, okay, person 1 picked it up, person 2 bagged it, person 3 put it in the evidence room. We want to be able to show that when we go to the jury, we have a strong chain of custody. Hey, this is exactly what we found there, and this is exactly how it supports this charge. And by doing that job early on and throughout the case, that's what holds the people accountable for what they did.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. There is something else you were telling me about, and that is you're going to have a news conference a little bit later in the month, a visit from the State Attorney General here to Indiana County, and it sounds like a really, really nicely designed program that you're initiating here in Indiana County.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, when we had Acting Attorney General Michelle Henry, we joined the Attorney General's office in their LETI program, which is the Law Enforcement Treatment Initiative. The goal of this program is to divert early cases from the criminal justice system, either to the drug and alcohol system or whatever system they need, address their needs. And what we're talking about is first-time offenders, nonviolent cases. It's their first interaction with the court. Instead of just cutting a check for $100 and paying a fine and moving on and maybe not having that impact, the idea is we want to provide all the treatment necessary very early on, because the research shows if that's done, you're going to reduce recidivism, you're going to reduce crime. Mm-hmm. So we partnered with the Attorney General's office. I believe in the LETI program, I want to say there's about 30 counties that do that. It's been a very successful program. We've had a 95% success rate with the early intervention in those cases. So what we're talking about is a very successful program that's reducing recidivism and reducing crime in our county. When Dave Sunday was elected as our new Attorney General, it was very important to him to add a layer to that program for behavioral health and mental health. So on March 30th at 2 o'clock in our courthouse, we're going to be having our launch for the new LETI behavioral health program. It is going to be the same concept in that we have individuals that have no criminal history. They commit an offense that is a nonviolent, low-level offense. We're not talking about serious violent offenses. Those are going to get addressed in the normal course of the criminal justice system. But we're going to talk about the petty theft, the petty criminal mischief, the cases where a person has certain mental health needs that they're just not getting for whatever reason. They don't have the resources, they're choosing not to, whatever that reason is. We're able to use the leverage of those potential charges and the resources in our system to get them that help. Mm-hmm. A lot of times what we find is we talk to the family and the family says, hey, we've been trying to get them help for years. Can you make them do it? And now that we have those potential criminal charges, we have that ability to say, well, now you're going to do it, or you're going to have to deal with the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
The program's been successful in counties across the Commonwealth. It's great to partner with AG Sunday. AG Sunday has been here in Indiana County several times. Before he was elected, when he was the district attorney in York, he's been a resource for me. He really is a prosecutor's prosecutor. And, this is just going to be another tool in our tool bag to say, okay, the cases that really are mental health and need to be addressed that way in order to reduce recidivism and help that person live a better life and make the community safer, we're able to get those cases to that system quicker. And we have a lot of partners in our mental health system in Indiana County and a lot of partners in our criminal justice system that are excited to have this opportunity here.
Would I be correct to assume that the new mental health facility at IRMC could be a part of this?
Yes. Yeah. The new facility at IRMC is offering fantastic services for those folks that need those services. Having 44 beds in a facility here in Indiana County for juveniles, for geriatric patients, and for adults with mental health issues that need to be addressed in that matter is a fantastic resource. And we're looking to partner with them and all of our partners, both in the mental health system and the criminal justice system, to be able to say what is the most appropriate way to address this person's issues, reduce crime, create a safer community, reduce cost. We may have a case where, we can say, well, you're going to go to the county jail for a month. And, if that costs the taxpayers X amount of dollars a day, and they're not necessarily getting treatment while they're in there that they're going to be able to get while they're out, they're not learning how to cope in the community in a way that's keeping the community safe, then we're not addressing the problem.
Yeah.
And it's just costing us more money. So the idea is for the low-level nonviolent offenses that we're really able to focus on getting that person help, it's going to make the community safer. It's going to make their life better. We do a lot of that, not really in a program necessarily, but we kind of work cases that way. Mm-hmm. This program is going to allow a more solid format to address that and open up a lot of resources for those individuals.
Breaks a cycle before it becomes a cycle, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's easier to stop smoking if you've never smoked than if you've smoked for 10 years. It's easier to break the cycle of criminality if we address it from the very beginning than if we wait until you have 6 convictions.
Yeah. Yeah. Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi is with us. We had Chief Justin Shaw from Indiana Borough Police with us yesterday talking about the festive celebrations that occur in the month of March. You've got St. Patrick's Day coming up, the non-sanctioned university event that comes on the heels of that, and that means a lot of people maybe who aren't experienced with alcohol are going to get alcohol, and usually that leads to smaller crimes. Sometimes it leads to bigger crimes, and I know that your office is concerned about that and keeping an eye on things and always will be there to do what is necessary.
Oh, absolutely. And as Chief Shaw said on your program the other day, we have all of our partners are involved. Municipal police, state police, sheriff's office, emergency services, citizens ambulance, the hospital. We have all of our partners involved to be able to address whatever needs to be addressed. The reality with, IU Patties is the vast majority of students that participate in any activities related to that are not causing trouble, want to have a good time with their fellow college students. Mm-hmm. They're not creating problems for the community. It really is a small handful, and many times people that come out of town feel like this is a vacation where they can just rip around town and not care because they're going to leave on Sunday. So we want to address that with all of our education. We already have activities we're doing with law enforcement and the college students, making sure as we lead up to those events, they understand the severity and what they should be considering when they do their activities. We want to make sure they have a good time, just like anybody else, but have a good time in a safe way.
Don't want to sugarcoat it and make it seem as if it's all outsiders coming in, but in many cases, the ones who commit crimes, particularly serious crimes, are people who come in from the outside and really don't have a connection to the university and maybe don't even know anybody on the campus where they can go to sleep it off, to use the term. And so they've got no other outlet for their behavior and to mitigate that behavior, and so they find themselves in a jail cell because they really didn't have any place else to go or nobody else to help them.
No, and there is just simply no plan that they have, and they start drinking, and they get out of control, and then they're making decisions that they wouldn't have made if they weren't drinking. And I know a lot of them wake up the next day and probably think to themselves, man, that was pretty stupid. I shouldn't have been doing that.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of what we're doing with the students right now leading up to it is really encouraging that planning. You know, you shouldn't be out drinking and creating an unsafe situation for yourself, for others. You know, reporting to the police if you see things that are unsafe. You know, this is where you're living. This is where you're going to school. If you see folks making things unsafe, just like if it were your home back wherever you're from, you want to make sure that that's addressed. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that it's a positive event, and we want to mitigate any issues we are. And by having a lot of the work that's going on behind the scenes right now and has been going on, we hope to lead up and continue with that curve that we've had of less and less problems with these weekends.
Good way to put it. You have to have a plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hope you have a great day.
It's Indiana in the Morning.